Hi again, everyone. I'm Ollie Matthews. This is the Narcissistic Resistance, and this resistance video is sponsored by contribution from Darlene, and here's her story. Hi, Ollie. I was asking to be anonymous in my first video, but upon reflection, I decided to be myself. You are now welcome to refer to me as Darlene. Who was I trying to protect by being anonymous? I think it was yet another way to devalue myself and maintain the family narrative that nothing ever leaves this house and you tell no one anything that goes on here. We had a huge extended family, and both my sister and I complied and never spoke up or asked for help. I am very sure the relatives knew what was happening, but never addressed it. Maybe they were afraid of my mother too. In a couple of your videos, you speak about the moment a child is broken, and you share your broken moment. Here is mine. I was in kindergarten, and it was my job to wipe the breakfast dishes every day. My father left for work later than my mom, so his job was to wash the dishes. I hated being assigned a job and raged about it. Oh, he hated being assigned a job and raged about it. Anyway, on this particular school day, I was barely as tall as the counter, but doing my best to do a good job. My father was mad at my mother and was taking it out on me. Of course, I didn't have the insight to see this at the time. My father begins yelling at my mother and starts hitting me in the face and head, telling me how I was doing a bad job. This is how, this is what my mother would get off the phone with. Usually her mother, but sometimes my father, and just start beating me and hitting me in the face and telling me, I know you didn't do this, but I got to take this out on someone. So glad she's dead. So glad the bitch is dead. Hope she's roasting. I can see this scene as if it was yesterday. My father was about to leave and told my mother was about to leave and told my father to hit me below the shoulders so nothing would show, because if I had visible injury, she would not be able to send me to school. She offered me up to him, accept the anger. She offered me up to him to accept the anger he had at her. I just broke and internalized that I deserved the abuse. This was a scenario that continued until I was 17 and left for college. They would fight and I would get beaten. My mother would get torn apart and I would be left beaten and confused, putting my room back. My room would get torn apart and I would be left beaten and confused, putting my room back together. This happened on a regular basis, but I never told anyone. I would eventually go to school with marks on my face, fat lips, welts on my arm, etc. If this happened today, my father would be in jail, but in the 60s, people just looked the other way. I constantly had split lips. But a lot of the boys had split lips in the 80s. That was the thing, because we were always jumping bicycles and doing shit. Okay? There was always somebody injured, always some with bruises. When you're a boy, you're meant to have bruises on you. So she could just slap away in my face, And then it got to a point where it could just take it. Where your face just stops bruising for whatever reason. She always knew not to blacken my eyes. She never gave me a black eye. But those lips, she loved to hit you in the mouth. She loved to hit you in the mouth. Why? Why do they hit you in the mouth? Why does the narcissist hit you in the mouth? Because it's your mouth that could fucking destroy them. That's why. That's why. That's why the narcissist hits you in the mouth. Because your mouth is the only thing that really can destroy them. That's what your parents were intent on, keeping you from telling anybody. If this okay. As I got older, I figured out my mother was pregnant before they got married. I assumed my father's anger towards me was a result of being trapped into marriage. Shortly after my mother died, I learned my conception was a scheme both of them cooked up. I asked my father if the scheme was true, and he said yes. He never addressed his physical abuse of me. To make the abuse even worse, I was constantly compared to my sister and how she was so much better than I could possibly be. Because you were just some sort of anchor to them, I guess. My sister has crazy hair. Actually, her hair is her least attractive aspect. I had grayed hair, but my hair was cut down to about an inch from my scalp. I see the reason for that now. My hair has always been my best feature. During one of my haircuts, Dad placed a chair in the middle of the kitchen and chopped my hair off. Blow dryers at the same time had just come to market. They got super hot and were made of metal. After the hair chopping, my father took the blow dryer to my head. I hardly had any hair, so my scalp was not protected, and the metal blow dryer would touch my ears and burn me horribly. They wouldn't listen to my cries of pain. I was to sit and obey. The next day, my ears were swollen and covered in blisters. I showed my mother and said I wasn't lying, and I said I was getting burned. She didn't show any concern, although the blow drying after the hair chops did cease. Because that's a hard one to pass off. Once during a family get-together, I was sitting in the den next to my father and was playing with a magnifying glass. The women were in the kitchen and the men were in the den. My father took my magnifying glass and with the metal edge of the frame held the glass in place and proceeded to push the metal into my thumb until I was seriously cut and bleeding. I must have disassociated during this because I watched him slowly cut me without flinching. I was in a bit of shock when I started bleeding. I didn't cry. He just stopped and went on conversing with my uncles. In a daze, I walked into the kitchen to show my mother. I told her what Dad did, and she told me I must have done it to myself for attention. I quietly went to the bathroom and cleaned my thumb and awkwardly put on a bandage. I was probably 7 at the time. I remember it as being a movie because I was dazed and shocked. No one spoke of it after I went away to take care of myself. Because I believe my father was tricked into marriage, I have been able to put his abuse of me in a box in my head and forgave him. Once when I was about 15 and after a particularly vicious beating, I asked my mother why she let my father beat me. Her response was that it was between me and my dad. No help there. I walked on eggshells constantly to gauge the tension in the house because I knew if they argued, I would get beat. How I survived with my mind intact is beyond me. You ever think maybe your mother started fights with him so you would get beat because your mother hated you that much? They both hated you. You ever think that they would fight so he would have a reason to beat you in his own fucked up mind? Although anxiety disorder and chronic major depression has been the legacy I live with to this day. As stated in my first video, my mother is now deceased, and her dying was the final FU to me. I'm so new to the realization of the true dynamic that played out in our family. I am at a loss about how to proceed with my covert narcissist and sadistic father. With your sister, I would shave her head. Why don't you shave both their heads? At this point, now that Drunkie's dead, and I see this so much differently now. I see it. I just got a lot of anger right now. Here is my question, even though I'm sure what your response will be. Is it possible to play them? Is it possible to outplay them now that I know the rules they operate by? No. Why would you want to? Why would you want to? Why would you want to do anything other than expose these animals for who and what they are? The only thing you should want to do in regards to the narcissist is expose them at this point. not play them, not to get involved, not to get sucked down in their shitty games, is to expose them. There's a part of me that still seeks validation and love, which you will never get from them. Never. I would love to turn the table on them, but in my heart I know it's not possible. Am I a narc for wanting revenge? No, you're normal for wanting revenge. I want to dig my mother up and fucking throw her in the goddamn river. There's not enough you can do to make up for the rage you feel. And that's where you might be at. You might be frozen in rage. Frozen in rage, because that's kind of how I am. I'm muddling through these videos, but I have been frozen in rage. The only thing you should want to do is expose them through revenge. Maybe, is this channel revenge? Could be. Could be, but it's righteous revenge. Exposing them is your revenge. Because it's not realistic to hold your sister down and shave your head and burn your father with a fucking hot blow driver. It's not realistic. Why? Because it's fucking barbaric. And at the end of the day, that's not who we are. You get your revenge by exposing them. That's your revenge. The problem is you get frozen with rage. I would love to turn the table on them, but in my heart I know it's not possible. Am I a narc for wanting revenge? I have no idea how to talk about the past to my father with the hope of an apology. You'll never get it. You call him out. The only thing you say to your father is you call him out for every fucking shitty thing he did. Say, hey, can I stand here and cut your thumb? How about I cut your thumb? How about I shave your head? How about I burn you with a hot iron? How about it? How about it? No? Maybe I'm just a masochist and my need for validation is old shit, and I just have not embraced the fact it'll never come. Yeah. Or you haven't realized your revenge is exposing every single thing they did. Coming to all these revelations this late in life is stunning. I have always been analytical and knew things were screwed up, but knew nothing about narcissism. I spent my whole life trying to be good enough. It's a hard pill to swallow that I will never be good enough in the eyes of my family. Your insight is so invaluable, and your subscribers with kind comments are uplifting. Thanks once again for being the voice in the dark. As soon as I hit send, I will send a donation. Just for fun, I will be making $7 donations every time I pass Starbucks. I'm not spending money on fancy overpriced coffee anymore when there is good work that needs support. Just a game to play with myself because I know coffee is such a waste of money. Light and love to you, Charlene, and your subscribers. Darlene, I understand the need for revenge. I understand it. What do you think me talking about putting a porta potty over my mother's grave and having people just come take a shit on it? It's not realistic. Doesn't help anything. Doesn't satisfy anything. You'd love to do it. I'm sure you'd love to hold your father down, your sister down, and shave their fucking heads. I'm sure you would, but it's not realistic. It's not realistic, and it wouldn't even be right to do it as much as they deserve it. And it sure as hell isn't legal. You're not going to convince him. He's never going to apologize for anything, for any of it. He's a sadist. And the only revenge, the best revenge, is exposing the narcissist. They hit you in the mouth to keep you quiet because your mouth is the only thing that can destroy them. Remember that. Your mouth is your revenge. Your words are your revenge. Your stories are your revenge. That's why they used to hit you in the mouth. That's why my mother used to hit me in the mouth. This is your revenge on the narcissist, Darlene. So, I hope that helps. Thank you so much for your contribution and your story. I really appreciate it. Thank you to everybody watching. Please leave any opinions or advice in the comment section below. And again, if you want your story read on the channel, you have a topic you'd like me to cover, a narcissist you'd like to expose, you'd like to set up Skype, a phone call, have a private video made, or a Facebook live chat, or you'd like to sponsor a video like this for someone who needs help and can't afford it, or just make a contribution to the channel in general to keep it supported, growing, and successful, because this channel survives 100% on contributions from all of you guys. Without you, all this goes away. So if you like what you see here and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do with the PayPal and email links in the description box. Also, please like and share this video wherever you can. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and be sure to click the subscription bell to be notified of all my video uploads. I'm Ollie Matthews. This has been The Narcissistic Resistance. Take care.